In today's video, we will be looking at the award predictions for this coming year in the NFL. Now, there are a lot of things that can change about this. It's obviously not going to be a perfect prediction, but the goal is to be very close, and that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to have some team awards. We're going to have some player awards, the MVP, the Super Bowl winners, all those kinds of things, the most likely to get the #1 pick. But before we get into this video, I have a couple things. One, make sure you check out Dubby.gg and use code Shredder to get 10% off your order of anything on their website. Also, check out my Twitter page at Shredder, where you can join a hot takes video. Put your take down in the comments of this post, and I will be doing a hot takes video sometime right before the start of the season. So make sure you get those in as soon as possible, and let's get right into this video. We're going to start this video off with the team awards, and starting off, we're going to go with some awards that I've made up, but the most overhyped team of the 2024 NFL season. I could not pick one because they are both overhyped for the exact same reason. The Texans and the Packers. Two quarterbacks who did really good last year. They have a lot of hype to them. People thinking they're going to make Super Bowl runs. I wouldn't be so sure just because sophomore slumps happen. And Jordan Love, yeah, he's not a sophomore technically, but in terms of starting, he really effectively is a sophomore in the NFL. I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to be bad, but the length of their playoff run, maybe not so great. Also, wouldn't be shocked if either of them weren't in the playoffs, just because sometimes slumps happen. It's okay. Either way, moving on. The most underhyped team right now honestly has to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have really flown under the radar primarily because of the fact that, you know, the Falcons have had such a great offseason, but the Bucs retained basically everyone that mattered. They brought in some good draft picks. Some guys are going to fill some direct holes, especially with their center position with Graham Barton. They have a good little lineup coming. I think they'll be fine. They just have to make sure they're going to be able to compete with the Atlanta Falcons primarily. Then, future conference winners. I think the conference winners, obviously the teams that make the Super Bowl, will be the Eagles and the Bills. I think this is similar to what I had last year, but I think these two teams are coming off of years where this makes sense. There's a lot of things pointing this. I think the Niners have a year like the Eagles did last year where they struggle, but they win 11 games, but it was a rough 11-game wins, you know, what I'm saying there. And the Bills, they have a lot of talent, even though they lost some guys. I think they'll be fine. I think they did some addition by subtraction even. Going into the Super Bowl winner, I think it'll be Buffalo. I think they'll finally break that curse and get it done. And the #1 overall pick, the #1 pick team, who do I think will win that? I think it's going to be the Washington Commanders. I think it's really, really a tough situation they have because obviously they just got Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels is a good prospect of a quarterback, but I'm not completely sold on him. He's made some really bad decisions. Preseason looked pretty good. That is optimistic for me. But that O-line is not going to be very pretty coming to the regular season, and they're not going to be able to protect this guy for nothing, to be quite honest with you. So I would be concerned about that, especially as a Commanders fan. Either way, going into most likely to succeed, I think it's Philadelphia. They are, you know, what defines succeed? That's kind of the question here. And for Philly, succession probably means, you know, at least a Super Bowl appearance because of the roster they put together. I think that's pretty dang likely. This roster is really, really solid. I like the additions they made offensively and defensively through the draft, through free agency and all that. So I think they are very likely to have a good year. Then most likely to fail, well, Washington. I think the O-line's bad. The defense didn't play well last year. Dan Quinn should fix that a good amount, but I just don't trust the offense at all right now. Cliff Kingsbury hasn't really had the greatest, you know, showing in the NFL. We're yet to see him be super great, but either way. Final team award I have here is the Out of the Woodworks award. This is a award I made up that basically is a team who was pretty much irrelevant last year comes to make that big jump and gets themselves probably at least in the playoff race minimum. I think it's going to be the LA Chargers. The Chargers have, you know, a really good quarterback in Justin Herbert, to say the least, and also finally a really, really, really good head coach. Jim Harbaugh, he's going to make sure they play disciplined football for one thing, and it's going to be a big difference than any Chargers team we've seen. I think he has the best chance out of pretty much any coach they've had in recent memory to do something with this team. Yeah, the receiver room's a little bit crappy. I think it's going to be okay. Jim Harbaugh's going to run the ball. They're going to throw the ball when they need to, and Justin Herbert's capable enough to put a ball in a bucket. So I would trust that they're going to have a pretty good season and make the playoffs this year. Moving on to the Players Awards. We're going to start out with some of the lower tier awards here. Comeback Player of the Year. I think this will go to Aaron Rodgers. Probably not too shocking. I think he does have a very solid year coming back, and this Jets offense could be very good because of that. Even if he's just, most of what he formerly was, that's really good because Zach Wilson wasn't great last year, and they still won, 7 games? If they can just be, respectable, have a solid, passing offense that is something to at least contend with, then they're going to be fine. Their defense is good. Their running game was good with and without a good quarterback. So I'm not worried about them. I think comeback player of the year goes to Aaron Rodgers. Then the UDFA of the year, the undrafted guy this season who makes a roster and makes a big-time showing for himself as a undrafted free agent rookie. This one, I'm going to go with either Beanie Bishop or Dwight McGlothern. These two are both cornerbacks, one in Pittsburgh, one in Minnesota. And the difference here I have is these guys both are going to have a chance to actually play on these teams. Minnesota's obviously had their losses in their cornerback room with Kyrie Jackson, obviously, his passing, and then the loss of Mekhi Blackmon, last year's draft pick. He's going to get some time to at least play somewhere. Beanie Bishop, on the other hand, he's going to have some time to play in that nickel. This Steelers defense doesn't really have a ton of nickel corners, and he's kind of the only one on the roster that makes tons of sense to play. So I think those two could make very big showings this year for themselves. The most underhyped player going into this next season, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray has long been an underrated quarterback, but that's because he's on a terrible team. He's had a couple good seasons here and there, but he's had mixed with health issues, mixed with not having a lot of great things around him. And either way, yeah, is he going to have a lot around him that's great this year? No. But he's going to be healthy, and he's going to have a legit receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr., plus Trey McBride, plus Michael Wilson. I think he has a good year. Maybe the team doesn't, but Kyler himself probably does. The most overhyped players going into this year are once again tied. Jordan Love and CJ Stroud. I like both of them. I think they both could be very good. However, the fact that we're talking about them like they're legitimate top 5 quarterbacks is insane. Not we, you. I don't know who you are, but you're talking about them like that, you got to chill. These guys have played, for Stroud, 1 year of good football. For Love, 9 games of good football. He didn't play very great from weeks 2 to about week 10 last year. We've got to wait on them. And it's honestly, to be fair to them, because if we go in thinking they're going to be top 5 and they don't show up as a top 5 player, then you set unrealistic expectations, But either way, then finally, Coach of the Year, Mike Tomlin. I think the Steelers are going to have a really solid year. They can't really get much worse. The defense got better in the offseason. The defense was good last year, but the offense got a lot better. Whether you want to like Russ or not, he had one of the best touchdown-interception ratios in Denver last year. And does he make some boneheaded plays sometimes? Sure. But so does Patrick Mahomes. So does Jaden Daniels, and a lot of people like him. There's a lot of difference between here. And obviously, he's not Mahomes. He's not Jaden Daniels. But he's an established quarterback. He threw 27 touchdowns. The entire Steelers team last year threw 13. That's going to be an improvement one way or another, and it just makes too much sense. Getting into the really good awards now, Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to give this one to Quinyon Mitchell of the Eagles. I think he's going to be incredibly impactful, so much so that he can end up as CB1 for this team by the end of this season. Darius Slay is really good, but he's also, 33-ish? He's around that ballpark age, so they have to have a new corner soon, a new number 1 guy, and I think Quinyon Mitchell is the guy for the job. I think he'll have a very good season, especially being cast as a CB2, and he'll be able to shine with the the growth coming next year into the CB1 position for this Eagles defense. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Caleb Williams. Really not a shocker, but what quarterback is set up as much as Caleb Williams is to succeed? Now, do I think another rookie quarterback could win it? Sure. I think the next most likely is probably Bo Nix. I like what Bo Nix can put together, but Caleb Williams, he has Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze, not to mention Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, a pretty solid O-line that really isn't bad at all. Are they amazing? No. Are they great? No. Are they good? Probably. Either way, Caleb Williams is set up to have a good season. The offense is there. The pieces are there. He just has to do it. I expect him to come out a little bit slow to start the season, but I expect by the end of the season, this guy is going to look like the next greatest quarterback. And now for the big 3 awards, the Offensive Defensive Player of the Year and the MVP. Starting off with the Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Breece Hall. Breece Hall has been very good in the short career he's had so far with the Jets, and that's on a Jets team that's been really bad. Let's be real. Last year, after losing Rodgers, they were bad. Instantly, when he went down, we knew they were going to be bad. And Breece Hall still produced at a great pace. I think with this year, if Rodgers stays healthy, which I think he will, I just have a prediction that he will. There's no reason why he can't, get a lot better, because the passing game's going to be much more of a threat, so Breece Hall is going to have much more room to run. Defensive Player of the Year, we're giving this one to TJ Watt. TJ Watt has been the best defensive player in the league statistically year after year after year, basically since he's entered the league. He's probably should have won 3 or 4 of these awards by now, especially last year's. It's not close, and they're, double team rate and what is it, pressures and all this stuff. If you think those matter more than actual production stats, then you don't know football, because double team rate is literally a chip in your pads that senses how close you are. It doesn't tell you who touches who. So it's completely irrelevant. Either way, TJ Watt gonna probably lead the league in sacks again. Nothing new there. Lead the league in tackles for loss. Make a touchdown or 2. The most dynamic defensive player in the game by far. Then the MVP, I'm giving this one to none other than Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen goes out there and he becomes the definition of the Buffalo Bills. You look up Buffalo Bill in the dictionary and boom, it's a picture of Josh Allen's face right there, smack dab in the middle. There's nothing else that Buffalo has than Josh Allen, and he can carry them. He is, in my opinion, probably the scariest quarterback in the league, probably the scariest player, because not only, Lamar's scary, sure, he can run, he can pass. Josh Allen can run just as well and throw far better than Lamar. There's not a way you can defend this guy. He runs over you, he runs around you, he jukes you out, he hurdles you, and then he throws 70 yards on your head. This guy, I think he's going to put up 4,500 yards this year passing, another 400 or 500 rushing, and probably have 50 total touchdowns. I mean, what's stopping him? He has no one to ball hog. He has no one to do anything. He's going to ball out, and I think this year, getting rid of some of those old heads, it's going to help him out, really. That's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Who are your predictions for MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, the most overrated, underrated, overhyped, underhyped, all these different things? Let me know down in the comments below. And make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.